What it is, cucks, it's your boy the Hater, and I wanted to do a quick video here about the situation that pretty much the entire WWE is centered around for the next month, if you will, right? At this point, Survivor Series War Games is completely an afterthought. Nobody cares about this at all. The only thing that matters is John Cena's last match. That's the next big event, if you ask me. That's a much bigger deal than fucking, dumbass Survivor Series, which absolutely nobody could possibly be excited about. For better or for worse, this is where we find ourselves, all right? We find ourselves in a situation where the next pay-per-view is an afterthought, and the real thing that's happening right now on Raw, and SmackDown as well, is the John Cena Last Time Is Now tournament. The name is retarded, the tournament is retarded, and quite frankly, the match with John Cena, that's not going to be retarded because at the end of the day, it's Cena's last match. You could see WWE is basically on its last legs. You could see that they're desperate. Every couple of months, they have some sort of big-time event that they can never have again. It was the Goldberg, retirement match, which not as big of a deal, obviously, but nevertheless, it is Goldberg, so it's going to get some eyes on the product. Cena's last match, one of the biggest things to happen in this company in the last 10 years, and think about what that is, right? Think about why that is. It's because, number one, John Cena is the absolute GOAT, and number two, it's his last match, right? Like, if this was any other event, if it was like Cena versus Gunther or whatever, in a throwaway pay-per-view, like, nobody would really give a flying fuck. But because it's Cena's last match, that's the draw. The draw is not even like, the fact that Cena's wrestling or the fact that Gunther, whoever the fuck it's going to be, is going to wrestle. Nobody cares about that at all. The only draw here is that it's Cena's last match. And for better or for worse, likely for worse, because obviously we don't get to see Cena ever again, or at least in a wrestling capacity. He might I have a feeling that he's going to come back for like a small run. Kind of like The Rock periodically comes back. I could see that happening in like 5 years, 6 years. But, he'll be old and, it won't be the same, right? This is the last time that we're seeing Cena like the way that he is, the way that he's meant to be. So with that being said, right, the question then becomes, why is the tournament so shitty? First of all, the structure of the tournament is absurd. I fucking hate it. I can't even explain how much I hate it because it's something that is so detestable overall that nobody could possibly like it. You know what I mean? The facts are what the facts are. Like, the tournament is just not well thought out. And I understand some of the things they're doing. Like, it's for a reason, But the tournament bracket still involves one jabron that hasn't been revealed yet, Now, Zack Ryder was revealed as like the first question mark mystery opponent, but at the same time, it's like, in my opinion, I think the opinion of most people, it's like, let's be real, does anyone really care about Zack Ryder? Like, people pretended for it to be a big deal, but quite frankly, it's just not a big deal, It's not something that anyone could possibly give a flying fuck about. Now, 4 of the first round matches have been concluded. They've taken place, and the people that have passed so far are Rusev, Sheamus, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. Now, while some of these guys have some redeeming qualities, right, like Sheamus, for example, is a future Hall of Famer, and obviously LA Knight versus Cena, I feel like that would be the biggest deal kind of match that they could do. I don't think either of them are going to win, though, so these matches have all been meaningless, For a tournament like this, you really needed to bring out the big guns, You really needed to bring out, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes. These guys should have been in the tournament because they are the only big names that this company has. And Cena is the biggest name this company has, and one of the biggest names this company has had. If you're going to get people from other companies or from the indies, and you don't want to get Zack Ryder, because nobody fucking wants to see Cena versus Zack Ryder. You should have gotten Edge somehow, Christian, people that Cena has had a past with, people that Cena has had interactions with, and in the context of Edge, people that Cena has had like some of his best matches and feuds with, But they didn't go down that road, right? On the other side of the bracket, right, the people that lost were Zack Ryder, obviously. He has no business even being considered as the last opponent of Cena's match. The Miz, which in my opinion should have beaten Jey Uso because Jey Uso's not going to win. And neither is The Miz, obviously, even if he won this match. But, you know, Miz versus, like, Rusev would have been better. And quite frankly, I think Miz should have gotten to the finals, all the way to the finals, because he is the, like, out of everyone here, he's one of the, out of everyone here by far, he's the biggest rival Cena's had. You know, he's been Cena's WrestleMania opponent. But other people that should have been in this tournament, like R-Truth, without any of the comedy shit, especially if he was like Ron Killings right now, that would be a big deal. AJ Styles, I know they just had a match, but again, we're not here to pick like a jobber to win the IC title. Which brings me to the losers, the people that haven't gone yet, right? The people that haven't wrestled yet. So obviously we've got Javon Evans versus Gunther. Javon Evans, in my opinion, is not a bad wrestler by any means. I like Javon Evans. But the problem with Javon Evans is, like, at this juncture of his career, he is not fit to be Cena's opponent. You know what I mean? He is not fit to be in the big time yet, right? Not because he's not talented enough. I actually think he is talented enough, and he could probably put on one of the best matches with Cena out of the people that are involved, like especially better than Nakamura, you know? But at the same time, it's like you have to consider a few other factors. Like, primarily, you have to consider the fact that this guy had a match with Randy Orton, right? At like NXT, and he got destroyed. I mean, he had some offense, don't get me wrong. But like, nobody ever thought Javon Evans was going to beat Randy Orton in NXT. You know, Orton is not going to NXT to take a loss from a jobber. You know, so there's that. So Javon Evans, in my opinion, is just taking up a bracket, right? Especially considering that he'll be going up against Gunther, who at this point has to be the favorite to win this horseshit tournament. The only person that I think has a chance is Solo Sikoa's opponent, because Solo Sikoa, who I think actually does belong in this tournament, he's going to be wrestling another to be announced. Now, we're going to talk about that a little later. After this, we've got Carmelo Hayes and for some reason, Bronson Reed. I don't know why it's not Braun Breaker. That'd be a big deal. Now, if they want to pull the trigger on Bronson Reed, I think he is the next guy after Gunther that would gain something from this, right? Because now that Cena is the Intercontinental Champion, Bronson Reed is someone that's consistently on the roster. It would behoove the WWE to give him some accolade. The way that the vision is being presented is that Braun Breaker is obviously the alpha, right? And Bronson Reed is the partner, not the lackey necessarily, but the almost lackey. Now, the reason I bring this up is because given how the vision is set up, it makes no sense for, like Braun and Bronson to become tag team champions, right? That just doesn't feel like something that needs to happen. It would just be like another step back. So if Braun Breaker is going to one day go after the world title, then it would be nice if Bronson Reed was the IC champion. You know, then they could say they have some dominance. Then they go into tag team titles as like an afterthought, but you understand what I'm getting at. So I have no problem with Bronson Reed squashing Carmelo Hayes, which is exactly what's going to happen. I don't know if The Miz is going to get involved. I don't know how he's going to do it, but this is one of those matches where clearly Carmelo Hayes, in my personal opinion, is the better wrestler, and normally he'd be the guy with the higher ceiling, but normally ain't what's happening right now. Right now, we are building up Bronson Reed, and Carmelo Hayes is, for better or for worse, an afterthought. So Carmelo Hayes, and also, obviously, in the real world, Bronson Reed would murder this guy. So, there's that. Now, obviously, it doesn't matter if you beat him up in real life or not, but there's a certain point where the difference in size is so significant that there's no scenario that's believable in which Carmelo Hayes would beat up this guy. It's just not believable. So, if they wanted him to go further, then, like, fine. Match up against Javon Evans or against Penta, which brings up the last match. Penta versus Finn Balor, a complete throwaway match. Cena and Finn Balor have absolutely no history, despite them overlapping each other for a significant amount of time. Secondly, Penta is obviously not worthy of being John Cena's challenger, right? Penta sucks. Cena rules, so it's as simple as that. This is a match that would have been a good match like 10 years ago, when Penta was actually over and people actually cared about him. But right now, nobody gives a flying fuck. So, basically, the winner of this tournament is going to be probably Gunther, but if it's not Gunther, it's the second most likely to win. I'm going to put TBA, Solo Sikoa's opponent, by virtue of us not knowing who he is. He's automatically number 2, right? Because everyone else is so bad that literally anybody that could come from anywhere has a better chance. You know what I mean? Like, if TBA is anybody, they have just as much chance as Nakamura to win. You know, well, not anymore because Nakamura got defeated, but you know what I mean. Like, they have just as much chance as Nakamura or Miz or Sheamus to win before the tournament started. So, like, it doesn't matter. Like even if it's Otis, like, Otis has more of a chance to win than Nakamura, because at least that's interesting, you know? Nobody wants to see Cena and Nakamura. So, like, now, TBA could be like, what if it's Roman Reigns? You know, who the fuck knows? It's possible. I doubt it, but it's possible. But the fact that you don't have Roman Reigns, you don't have Orton, like, come on. I understand that they got rid of these matches, you know, during Cena's title run, which really establishes the World Heavyweight title does nothing. But, you know, in an ideal setting, this tournament would be a tournament of champions. It would be people like CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and you could use this tournament to further some feuds, right? Like, for example, you could put Rollins and CM Punk on the same side of the bracket, and they eventually wrestle each other and one screws the other, right? Now, the central question that remains, I think, is who in the blue hell is the Cena, the TBA opponent, the mystery opponent? Now, it could be anybody, right? The implications of, like, Zack Ryder are that it's going to be someone unconventional one way or another, right? It's either going to be another indie jobber, or it's going to be someone like from NXT, you know? Although Javon Evans didn't get that same courtesy of being a mystery opponent. They just announced him, you know? Javon Evans is ready to move up. Like, he's one of the only guys in NXT that has a chance to actually have a good career. But another one is, of course, Obafemi or Trick Williams. Now, as I understand it, right, I didn't watch NXT, but Ricky Saints beat Trick Williams again. So Trick Williams is obviously not fit to be Cena's final opponent. That is just laughable, right? If you can't beat Ricky Saints, you have no business being in the same company as Cena. Now, there's that. Another possibility people are murmuring about is the recently signed Joe Hendry. That's another person who is obviously not fit to lace Cena's boots. And thirdly, we have Obafemi, who I believe would make the most sense as this TBA. Only because Obafemi, while not on the level of Cena, is someone that could potentially win. Like, because Obafemi is fresh and he has done fuck all in the main roster, automatically he's going to be placed above the likes of Sheamus, above the likes of Nakamura, above the likes of Damian Priest, you know, and Rusev and people like that, and Aleister Black, who's not in this tournament as far as we know, right? He's going to be placed above them because these guys are all mid-card jobbers. So it's like, yeah, like if he comes in, like if Obafemi comes in, the first 6 months of his career are going to be him having like a meaningless feud against like some jobber, you know what I mean? Now, some of the factors that have led to this shit tournament are the plethora of injuries that have plagued the WWE, right? So, for example, Jacob Fatu, normally he wouldn't deserve a spot. But if you're going to have a throwaway spot, you might as well put him instead of Nakamura. You might as well put him instead of Jey Uso, right? Because at least he has a chance to win. The problem with this tournament is that the number of people that have a chance to win is extremely low. Now, we have 8 matches, which means we have 16 superstars, and only 3 of them are viable, possible winners. However, if you had this tournament filled with people like Roman Reigns, you know, who's doing nothing right now, CM Punk, who's doing nothing right now. I mean, he has the War Games, but so what, you know? You're going to have another match. And Cookie Rhodes, you know, there you have it, right? You could have also just scheduled the tournament in a better way so that the people don't have to worry about getting injured at, you know, War Games. Like Jimmy Uso's in that match, so he's probably going to get injured doing a splash again, you know? That's all this guy does is get injured and come back, just like everybody else in his shit family. But anyways, the point is, of the people that are left over, I hate to say it, but Gunther is the only one here that we have left, right? The only one here that is, I can't believe I'm saying it because I don't want to say it, but that is worthy of wrestling Cena. The only other exceptions are Sheamus and The Miz, but the booking that they've experienced over the last 5 to 10 years dictates otherwise, right? The booking in the last 5 years suggests that there is no logic in having The Miz or Sheamus be there, right? Quite frankly, they're not presented as being on Cena's level. Cena is presented as the perpetual, you know, world heavyweight champion or challenger, and realistically, he's still the number 1 guy in the company, you know? Like, another thing that needs to be considered, though, is the Intercontinental title. You know, The Miz is obviously going to one day get another Intercontinental title run. The Miz is like 3 or 4 days shy of being the longest reigning cumulative champion ever, right? because he has like 800 and something days. So with that being said, I think Jericho is like a few days more than him, you know? Then, if he wins one more IC title, The Miz, I believe, also becomes the most, like, the person that has the most Intercontinental title reigns total. He'd have like 10 or some shit like that, right? So The Miz is going to get it. Like, they've kept him on this edge so that one day they can have this match. Now, the way things are going, they might save it for his retirement, because that's all WWE does now is retirement matches. But he's going to get it. So why not have him get it this time, you know? Another thing that needs to be considered is that because Cena is the Intercontinental Champion, which I thought was nice because he beat Dominic, Dominic should be in this tournament, number one. And number two, equally importantly, in my opinion, right, is the fact that because Cena is the champion, it's pretty much axiomatic that he's going to lose the title, right? Which means he's going to lose the match. I mean, I guess it's possible that they just like have Cena win and then they do another tournament for the IC title, but it's like you already did a tournament to establish who's going to wrestle him. So it only makes sense that the person beats him. This opens up the door a tiny bit, right? At the end of the day, even though I keep saying that Gunther is nothing more than a mid-carder, Gunther has been presented over the last few years, obviously, as a quasi-main eventer. Now, personally, I don't think someone can be a main eventer if they don't main event. And I don't think someone can be a legitimate world champion unless it's the WWE title or the old World Heavyweight title, or I'm going to put it up there, the Universal title, which was held by people like Lesnar and Roman Reigns, right? If you don't have those titles, you're not a real world champion as far as I'm concerned. So, that's also true. And as a result, Gunther might get another Intercontinental title run, you know, but it can't be too long for many reasons. Number one, he can't overcome the Miz's like historic, record, right? Which he's going to achieve soon, hopefully. And number two, it's like, what's the point, right? This guy was already promoted to the World Heavyweight title picture. So I don't really understand why this guy is there. So at this point, based on the ones before us, it would seem that Bronson Reed is the most intelligent choice. Because, I mean, there are other examples, like you could give it to Carmelo Hayes, but it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Carmelo Hayes is not beating Cena, like, in Cena's last match. Gunther is the only one here that has any kind of status, you know? Of everyone here, like discounting people like Sheamus, who are not going to win, and discounting, you know, people like Nakamura, and, well, Nakamura's never been a world champion, but someone like The Miz, who's already been eliminated. Of everyone here, the only real quasi-established guy is Gunther. Jey Uso's title reign is an afterthought. Nobody cares about it at all. And quite frankly, he's not going to win either. So it's like, who stands to benefit the most, right? Well, I would argue that it's Bronson Reed. Or maybe Obafemi, if he's if it's Obafemi, if Obafemi is the to be announced, that would be a good way to establish Obafemi. He wins a tournament and earns an Intercontinental title shot, right? So that way no one can say like, oh, he was just like, you know, they strapped a rocket to his ass. No, like in kayfabe, he earned it and he can beat Cena. And I mean, that would be like a massive disappointment. And in my opinion, also like Obafemi is probably going to come in as a face. So like if he comes in as a face, like, why would you have your face be mercilessly booed? Because nobody's going to cheer for the other guy, right? The other guy can be like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair combined doing the fusion dance, and they're not going to get cheered over Cena in his last match. So there you have it. But in my opinion, as a result of this, it seems like a heel's going to win. So it has to be Gunther or Bronson Reed. But because this is now for the Intercontinental title, and because of the fact that Gunther retired Goldberg, it's like, it's almost ridiculous that Gunther can have this kind of a year. You know, he lost to Jey Uso, right, at WrestleMania, of course. And then, obviously, he won the title again, but nobody gave a flying fuck. This was just a way to get the title off of Uso. And then he lost it almost immediately to, like, fucking, who did he lose it to? To, like, Seth Rollins? Did Seth Rollins win? I don't remember. Someone won, right? Or was it CM Punk? He lost to CM Punk, and then Seth Rollins cashed in, right? So it's like, he's, like, on a losing streak. But somewhere around that, the motherfucker retired Goldberg, and then somewhere around that, the motherfucker is gonna retire Cena. You know, he doesn't deserve it, kayfabe-wise or otherwise. So, if you want to make a champion, if you want to make a big deal, if you want to make a star, the way to go is Bronson Reed. But the problem with Bronson Reed, obviously, as some people have pointed out, is that Bronson Reed is 37. He's basically the same age as the hater, right? And also, he's like apparently like 5'9" at most, because Paul Heyman's taller than him, so there you have it. But he's 37. Now, 37 like is not old by any means. Like, the hater is not old. Like, LA Knight is in his 40s and he's not old. But it's too old to start a career. Now, I know LA Knight has been around, and he's also much older than Bronson Reed. And I know Bronson Reed has also been around. But the problem is, they've been around elsewhere, right? You have to be exceptional to start a career and start having a successful career in your late 30s. The only example that I can think of off the top of my head is straight up AJ Styles. And AJ Styles is one of one, motherfucks. AJ Styles is not like these guys. AJ Styles is, number one, better than both of them. And number two, more importantly, AJ Styles was an extremely successful wrestler outside of WWE. His success is not the same as LA Knight's. Or certainly not the same as Bronson Reed's, right? AJ Styles was like a multiple-time TNA champion. He was like the face of the opposition, number one. Two, he had just come off of like a massive world title reign in New Japan, and he was going after the Intercontinental title in Japan, which back then was considered like almost equivalent to the world title, you know? So AJ Styles was another level, you know, and more importantly, AJ Styles could still go. Like, we don't know if these people can still go. Like, I don't know how many years Bronson Reed has with his like fat ass frame. LA Knight can still go, but LA Knight's in his 40s. So it's like, you gotta be able to give this to someone that can use it. You know what I mean? Like, Gunther is, unfortunately, that dude. Because even though Gunther, in my personal opinion, is not a good choice overall, like I think, for example, Bronson Reed is more entertaining, Gunther's 38, right? He's 1 year older only than Bronson Reed, which, again, is not a big difference. It's not like, you know, it's not like Gunther is old either, right? But Gunther is 38, but he's somewhat established. Like, the last 5 years have established Gunther as someone of relevance, right? I don't like him, but the facts are the facts. So it's like, if you give it to Gunther, this can be used to carry Gunther for the next 10 years of his career. But Bronson Reed probably won't be relevant for the next 10 years, right? It's kind of like when Brock Lesnar beat the streak. When Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker, player. A lot of people were pissed off because they're like, this can be used to establish a young guy. Yes, it can. But we don't know where that young guy is going to go, right? So, for example, people were saying Bray Wyatt should beat The Undertaker, right? It's like, what? You know, like he should end the streak. Absolutely not. You know? Now, this is assuming that Bray Wyatt would be around the company for a long time. But Bray Wyatt passed away. And not only that, before he passed away, he was gone for like a year and a half. Nobody remembers that for some reason, right? He was not this consistent performer. So it would have been obviously wasted on Bray Wyatt, right? If Bray Wyatt ended the streak, yeah, Bray Wyatt would go down as a legendary wrestler, which now he won't, obviously. But nothing would have come of it because he passed away. A lot of people were saying, oh, Finn Balor should end the streak. Those people are obviously fucking insane, you know? And why? So Finn Balor could be tag teaming with JD McDonough? Like, Finn Balor was never going to be this massive star. So you have to think carefully. Lesnar, when he ended the streak, was in his 30s, I believe, right? In late 30s, but 30s nevertheless. And he was one of the most established guys of all time. So Lesnar still has a career ahead of him from that point forward. And he's had a career since then. And Lesnar's Lesnar. He's a WWE product, etc., etc. So, in my opinion, that's the kind of person that needs to get it now. And the only person that fits that mold is, unfortunately, Gunther, right? Because he's going to be around for a minute, whether we like it or not. And he's being taken seriously now. Because if you really think about it, like, even Sheamus 10 years ago was still being taken seriously. You know? He was still like, you know, a big deal. So this can be used to set up Gunther as a main event type guy into his 40s, right? He can be like a CM Punk, you know? Someone who's in his late 40s and is a main eventer. Whereas, for example, Sheamus is in his late 40s and he's not a main eventer anymore, right? That's also because, like, he stayed in the company while CM Punk left. So the allure, like, is, you know, the sheen is shinier this time, right? But the fact is, motherfuckers, that there's only one correct answer here. And in my personal opinion, it's either Bronson Reed. That's the person that should get it. Just because, like, it's the only thing that makes sense. You know, like, overall, he doesn't deserve it. But as we've established, nobody here deserves it. And Gunther winning it would be a big deal. But it would pretty much come down to the fact that if Gunther wins it, Gunther is back in the mid-card. Even if it's for a short period of time, right? Like, it's almost like if someone like Gunther wins it, the fact that he retired Cena is like like tampered down a little bit by the fact that Gunther is now the mid-card champion. You see what I'm saying? But for someone like Bronson Reed, this will make a massive impact. Or someone like Obafemi, it would make a massive impact. Obafemi's a young guy. He's just getting started. If he starts out with the IC title by beating Cena, that means that they have big plans for this guy. Now, personally, I don't think that's going to happen because he doesn't need to. And also, if he's going to be like debuting soon, he needs to be a face, you know? And also, I think, I could be wrong because I only read the results, but I think he came out to challenge Ricky Saints again, right? I could be wrong. I think so, though. So it's like, make up your mind, motherfucker. Like, if there's no scenario in which Obafemi beats Ricky Saints, right? Well, I guess that is a possibility. He beats Ricky Saints, and then Ricky Saints, like, is a jobber again, and Obafemi is the NXT champion, and he goes and he beats Cena, gets the IC title, relinquishes the NXT title, and then it's complete. But why would they go through all that, right? Why would they go through all that shit? It doesn't make any sense, you know? Like, it's much more intelligent to do what I'm saying. So we'll see how it goes. The tournament is, like, hanging on by a thread, and I hate it because it's hanging on by a thread primarily because of this mystery opponent, which leaves the door open for scenarios in which, like, you know, this mystery opponent, this mystery participant can become the guy that wins. And if he becomes the guy that wins, then it's like, all right, since it could theoretically be anybody, it could even be The Undertaker, player, then that's fine. But if it's not going to be like that, if it's going to be another Zack Ryder, like if it's like, oh, here it is, it's Luke Gallows, you know what I mean? Then it's like, all right, the tournament is a complete failure. And after that, once they play that hand on Monday, they're going to show us who the last guy is. And once they show us who the last guy is, then it's over. Because at that point, it's like, oh, we'll be able to ascertain who's going to win or who's not going to win. You know? Like by Monday, we're going to know if it's either Gunther, Bronson Reed, or the third guy. But if the third guy is like Luke Gallows, you know, then we know it's not going to be the third guy. So there you have it. That'll put us in a situation that nobody wants to be in. So with that being said, we'll figure it out from there. But I am not excited about the tournament. You also have to think about the people that are going to be there in attendance. Like, what do people want to see? Probably, unfortunately, Cena versus Gunther. So you got to think about that shit too. So that being said, take care of yourselves and go fuck your own asses, motherfuckers.